In this video, we're going to take a look at how the piano keyboard is laid out. This is a very, very important thing to know if you're going to do anything in music, whether you're producing or composing or playing. The piano is sort of the foundation of our Western harmony. And, you know, if you're not studying Western harmony, if you're in some other tradition, it's still good to know this. It might be less important. But since we're studying Western harmony in the Western world, we're going to use the piano keyboard. All right. So this can be confusing for people who have never really bothered to look at the notes before, especially if you just like play by feel or if you don't play at all. But it's actually very logical. So I will explain this the way I used to explain it to elementary kids when I would teach them the piano keyboard. And you can see the black keys, right, are in groups of 2 and 3. There's a group of 2 black keys and then a group of 3 black keys and a group of 2 black keys and a group of 3 black keys. And it goes the same way all up and down the keyboard, the pattern 2, 3, 2, 3. All right. You got that so far? The pattern. If you look at the group of 2 black keys, we call that the doghouse. And so the D stands for dog and the dog lives in the doghouse. So if you're looking at a typical keyboard or piano that's not labeled like this one is, then you can quickly find D by looking for the 2 black keys and know that that's the doghouse. Okay, that's kind of like an elementary way of learning the names of the keyboard, because then you can go up from there, right? If that's D, then the one right next to it is E, F, G. I assume you do have to know the alphabet to do this. So, but after G, it flips around to A. So there's no H, there's no I or J. It just flips back around to A. The typical octave on like a MIDI controller starts with C, and you go C, D is in the doghouse, E. There's no black key between E and F, and that's going to come in to be important later on. And then G, A, B, and again, no black key between B and C. The white keys are called the natural notes. They just don't have any flats or sharps. There's nothing really different about that than the notes that do have flats or sharps, except they generally have one name, and it's right there. You can see, and it's just the single letter, okay? And we usually write that as a capital letter whenever you're writing that out in like words. Now the black keys are a little more interesting. There's 5 of them per octave, whereas there are 7 white keys per octave. And the black keys have 2 different names, right? They have a sharp name and a flat name. So if you're looking at this black key from the perspective of it being higher than C, it's C sharp. It's a half step higher or a semitone higher. If you're looking at it from the perspective of being lower than D, then it's D flat. It's just a little lower than D, right? A half step, a semitone. And D flat and C sharp are, for all practical purposes, the same note. If you Google it, you will find people that will argue about that because of like different intonation systems. If you're a beginner, you can safely ignore all those people. So this key here, this black key between D and E, right, could be called D sharp, or it could be called E flat, F sharp, G flat, G sharp, A flat, A sharp, B flat. Now, there are rules in music to when you use the sharp or flat name. If you're just playing for yourself, nobody cares about the rules. But if you want to interact with other musicians, right, and you are writing in the key of E flat major, for example, and you're constantly throwing in A sharps, it's going to confuse the musicians. You would use B flat in that instance. All right. So there are rules to it. Don't worry about why there's 2 names right now. Just know that eventually you'll learn that. But just know that you need to know the note names of the keyboard. If you're in my class at Fort Hays, I'm going to be testing you on this. And it's just, man, it's just such a useful life skill to have. I'm going to go on and on and on about this because I cannot tell you how important it is that you know the notes of the keyboard. For almost every production task, you're going to need to know the notes of the keyboard. All right. So musically speaking. And so again, if you can't find any other notes, D is in the doghouse between the 2 black keys. All right. And then the notes around that are C and E, right? C, D, E. And then around the 3 black keys, you have F, G, A, and B. Now there's probably other people out there with great mnemonics, great ways of memorizing that. However you can do it, memorize it. Don't write the names of the notes on your keyboard. All right, don't do that, because then you're like chained to that keyboard. It's best to just learn them and just know them, right? Like you spell your own name, right? That's how well you should know them. So that's my pitch. Please, please, please learn the names of the notes of the keyboard. Be totally fluent in them. So if somebody says, hey man, give me a B flat. I need to tune this trumpet. Give me a B flat. You can just walk up to the piano and press a B flat. You look like a genius, you know. If you're struggling around trying to, these in the doghouse and we go down, I mean, you might get it, but you're not going to look very good. All right. So learn these and do what you can to memorize them, and then don't get them mixed up. And the more you practice and play with this, it's going to become very, very simple. All right. But please learn the names of the piano keyboard notes.